Tus comentarios no merecen mi atención. Cada quien tiene una distinta posición. Con razón se dice que la envidia brota cuando el alma y la autoestima sufren la derrota por irse de boca. Contados son los que saben que hay detrás de este son. Por eso nunca falta la cuchara de un babosón que quiere más protagonismo del que puede tener, pero ni siquiera con eso nos pueden ya detener. No sé si me dejo entender, pero no te puedo atender. Si lo que quieres es joder y tienes ropa por tender, no me vengas a ofender con tus palabras, que son como los perros que no muerden pero ladran. No me descuadran, yo sigo firme con mi escuadra, lateando, rapeando, ando por toda la cuadra. No me interesa el fulanito de tal que se la pasa maldiciendo por una red social. Dime cuántas veces me mataron, cuántas veces me enfermaron, me arrestaron y todo se lo inventaron. Sin cinismo y con descaro, si nunca nos trataron. Novelas y más novelas nos inventaron. Ya no hay reparo, yo no me comparo con el pensamiento avaro, porque luego sale caro. ¿Me escucharon? Si nadie sabe lo que pasa en mis cuatro paredes, yo no te pido las disculpas, pero me las debes.
Si un momento se pusieran en nuestros zapatos, nos seguirían con comentarios tan insensatos. Aquí no estamos por jugar ni por matar el rato. Tengo que rapear para poder ver algo en mi plato. Nadie sabe todo lo que yo he dejado de lado, para que me digan que yo no me sacrifiqué. Más adelante nos veremos ya, y estoy seguro que el tiempo a mí me dará la razón.
Qué fácil es hablar grueso, me hacen pensar que todos se ponen de acuerdo para molestar con eso. Hace mucho que no me estreso por los comentarios que dejaron de ser serios al ver que lo usaron varios. Supuestos delirios de grandeza y falta de humildad, como si vivieran otra realidad. Que no ofrezco mi amistad y solo pienso en el dinero, pero todos estos voceros de mi historia no saben ni la mitad. Yo sí no estoy pa' juegos como muchos nuevos que se quitan luego de ver que en esto no existe un cese al fuego. Yo sí me mandé con huevos a hacer del hip hop mi oficio, sin ningún auspicio, misio y confiando en mi sacrificio. Cambiar las horas de estar en casa bien elegante para analizar un tema nuevo frente a los parlantes. Un sueldo fijo a fin de mes, una tarjeta de oro, es algo que si te digo que tengo es floro. Un sueño normal de madrugada no tengo, sería mentir.
A esa hora siempre me nace escribir.
Tengo deudas que pagar, soy un hombre en llamas, todos los primeros por elegir ganar el sueldo de un rapero. Pero eso es lo que quiero y soy consciente que la gente común y corriente siempre me va a mirar diferente. Pero algo me dice, loco, pa'lante, hay que ser constante, no te tires para atrás que ya caminaste bastante.
Si un momento se pusieran en nuestros zapatos, nos seguirían con comentarios tan insensatos. Aquí no estamos por jugar ni por matar el rato. Tengo que rapear para poder ver algo en mi plato. Nadie sabe todo lo que yo he dejado de lado, para que me digan que yo no me sacrifiqué. Más adelante nos veremos ya, y estoy seguro que el tiempo a mí me dará la razón.
Disclaimer: this content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property. The content provided today has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles did not intend to make use of any material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of United States copyright law states material and use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes, and thus Bible Chronicles believes that this principal material falls under fair use, which honors protection under Section 107 of the same U.S. copyright law.
Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins.
That's
Every man has his techniques, and they're all different. But when you know mine, you'll be dead.
Hay gente afuera que te mata por dinero. Hay gente que ni siquiera mencionar prefiero. Están los tombos corruptos que salen por la televisión. Gente con plata buscando más plata por sucia ambición de querer tenerlo todo. Y es cuando agradezco que a ese grupo de gente yo no pertenezco. Yo me parezco a los que están en la jugada, mientras que tú con tus camaradas solo hablan huevadas. No sé, a mí me importa solo lo que piensen algunos. Están mis padres y amigos que de verdad afuno. Ninguno sabe lo que de verdad yo paso. Si solo hacen público los triunfos y no los fracasos. No me sobra el dinero como para irme a gastar. Yo tengo que pensar de qué me voy a alimentar mañana. Claro que tengo que cobrar por cantar. Si tengo cuentas que saldar que mi mami no va a pagar. Tú piensas que todo lo tengo gratis, que me la doy de papi, que me la paso todo el día siempre happy. Pero Naki, para que tú sepas aquí trabajamos mientras duermes, dedicados siempre con papel y lápiz. Claro que sí, de vez en cuando a mí también me asusta intentar vivir haciendo lo que más me gusta. Pero lo que más me disgusta es que hay gente que piensa que tengo dinero cuando en realidad estoy con las justas. No tengo bastante, pero de todo lo que tengo soy el dueño. Lo más importante, estoy siguiendo un sueño. Sin hacerle daño a nadie, disparo rimas, sino pistolas. Después de todo, puedo decir que estoy viola. Hace bastante tiempo ya que existen muchos como yo luchando por todo aquello en lo que cree. Yo tengo algo que no falla. Digan lo que quieran porque haciendo mi música yo me siento bien.
Pese a todo, seguimos con el mismo flow de esquina, pasando por lo que muchos no se imaginan.
Si me preguntan cómo estoy,
Mejor que cuando empecé.
aquí sigo sonando como sé.
No me sobra, pero tampoco me falta en esta vida. Me desempeño con empeño, preño rap en la movida. Es mucho más que ser mi música preferida. Es un lugar donde vivir, con que vestir, tener comida. El dedicarme a esto me hizo ser un trapecista de la fluidez cuando llega el fin de mes. Porque si no hay con qué, le meto con la fe para que se vaya el estrés y arrancamos otra vez. ¿Ves? La fórmula es la sencillez y la madurez, que nunca se muere porque en esto se requiere
Pararse,
sentarse,
estudiarse,
analizarse,
evaluarse,
para luego así reinventarse. Si solicitan mi trabajo, propinas me las daba mi papá de niño, yo no me rebajo. Si por esto yo me rajo y no para estar en bromita, mi mamita no me trae el desayuno a la camita. Independiente el que vive y el que siente, música que no te miente por más que la tienten. Voy creando rimas, puliéndolas en la cabina y fines de semana recitándolas en la tarima. Buscando la temática, tediosa como matemática, es la promoción lunática. Más de una década sin freno, sacando pura música de estreno. ¿So quién dijo que no? A mí que me falte todo, menos el bombo y la tarola, porque con esto yo me siento piola.
Aquí que nos falte todo, menos el bombo y la tarola, porque con esto nos sentimos viola. Hace bastante tiempo ya que existen muchos como yo luchando por todo aquello en lo que cree. Yo tengo algo que no falla. Digan lo que quieran porque haciendo mi música yo me siento bien.
Pese a todo, seguimos con el mismo flow de esquina, pasando por lo que muchos no se imaginan.
Si me preguntan cómo estoy,
Mejor que cuando empecé.
aquí sigo sonando como sé, como sé, como sé, como sé. Sigo sonando como sé. Ella apoya a José.
El autor viene a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? Un filósofo francés de origen alemán. Si nos remontamos al comienzo, entonces hallaremos que la ignorancia y el temor crearon a los dioses. La fantasía, el entusiasmo o el engaño los adornaron o desfiguraron. La debilidad les rinde culto, la credulidad los conserva, la costumbre los respeta y la tiranía los apoya para que la ceguera de los hombres sirva a sus propios intereses.
Okay, let's see if you guys can hear that. I hope so. I hope you guys can hear that. Hey, what up, VTC? Sorry, bro. And whoever else is watching or not watching. Buenas noches, buenos tardes, buenos dias. Say that in a sarcastic way, too, by the way. All right, you guys saw the the thumbnail. Listen, I want to tell you guys something real quick. You guys can believe whatever the hell you guys want to believe. I think we're all adults here. And I there's no narrative, at least there's no intent like that for me. If that was the case, I would have already been trying to be part of a group. I read, I compare, and then I see, does it make sense? And if it doesn't make sense, then I stay where I'm at. So again, I've said this before in other classes or shows, like some of y'all like to call it. There's 7 churches, 7 continents. I kind of look at it like that. So I'm going to focus on the people here, my gente, the natives. You know what I'm saying? Our people. And, I happen to be born in Guadalajara, in the actual, like right down there where all that stuff mostly happened. So, but that goes for you brothers and sisters that have been born elsewhere. You know what I mean? So I say that for you guys too. So let's begin. I have a message. So, anyways, look, I like to read. I like to I don't like just to go by what people are, what everybody's. I like to make sure I know what I'm believing, in a sense. You know what I mean? Because you gotta engrave with that. You gotta walk with that. You're not an empty vessel. So, let's read this real quick. I think it's important. It's important. Check it out. I think this person made a great point. I'm no longer interested in awakening the masses because they made it clear that they are not interested. I'm here to connect with like-minded individuals and awaken those who want to learn. Because I reflected on what was my intent from the get-go with this channel. I just wanted to show our gente the beauty of being who we are. Because unfortunately, when you're born up in this area, you don't really experience what it's like. Not that you lose anything, but the reasons why we were connected again back into this whole soup of so-called America, which is why I believe the Most High brought us back to we can share this information. So then for you that may have lost some of that connection, you'll see what it means. I was blessed to have the experience of living there and going back and forth and still having family and roots there. And I go to Tijuana once a month. I have to. So I see my gente all the time. Yo los veo cuando estoy cruzando la línea. Me piden dinero. ¿Sabes qué? Yo les compro cuando puedo, compro algo para ayudarlos. But like this sign right here, this one right here, this is an actual one of those calendar ones. They made it. It's like real. Like I have it here. And I have it because I love those colors, green and gold. It's like my favorite, green and gold, since I was little. So again, I started this because I wanted to give that back to our people, because I looked around and in 2016, 2018, because that's kind of when I started kind of seeing this crap. There was nobody speaking for our gente. There was no Democratic, forefronter, no Republican, nothing, nobody, man. Everybody just stepped over the whole raza. Yeah, pinches Mexicanos, way. Shut up, beaners, get in the back of the line. That's what motivated me. So again, I started this because I wanted to give that back. But you know what? I learned that a lot of people don't give a shit. They don't want the truth. It just, as long as it tickles at entertainment and it's all good, then it's all good. But when it comes to real facts or learning, and that's not making it part-time of your life. If you believe that this book belongs to you, it has to be 24/7, at least, whether you're working or not. Y'all understand what I mean? I don't have to explain it to you. You guys are adults. You know how to balance your life. If you really are saturated with the words, you're going to have that always in your mind, no matter what you're doing. So again, I'm trying to, share the information because this is what I see. I'm not saying believe what I'm sharing with you, confirm what I'm sharing with you, because this I know for a fact. This right here, I know for a fact. Let me see if I can get it. Where you at? Hold on, I just had it, man. Are you serious? Hold on, give me a second. Hold. Give me a second. I had it. I don't know why. I lost it. Oh, here it goes. This is a powerful, and again, YouTube, you guys block this a lot. I'm trying to show examples of things. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Jose, shalom, saludos, Juan Moi. I'm trying to show. By the way, YouTube, I'm trying to show examples of things. I'm not. There's no benefit in this channel. We don't make money off of this. So I'm only using this for the purposes of educational, examples here. Okay. So again, this is why I'm using this material. Now, check this out, family. I'm going to play it this way because, again, they may give me a hard time. So listen to the message. I think it's extremely important.
What does that mean?
To take something in.
Okay, excellent. To absorb. Anyone?
Everywhere, all the time.
So what is ubiquitous assimilation?
Always absorbing everything everywhere all the time.
Well done, George. How are you to imagine anything if the images are always provided for you? Who here read 1984 last year? Good. Anyone? Meredith?
Having two opposing beliefs at once and believing that both are true.
Excellent, Meredith. To deliberately believe in lies while knowing they're false. Examples of this in everyday life. Oh, I need to be pretty to be happy. I need surgery to be pretty. I need to be thin, famous, fashionable. This is a marketing holocaust. 24 hours a day. For the rest of our lives, the powers that be are hard at work, dumbing us to death. So, to defend ourselves and fight against assimilating this dullness into our thought processes, we must learn to read, to stimulate our own imaginations, to cultivate our own consciousness, our own belief systems. We all need these skills to defend, to preserve our own minds.
You hear that, family? When you look at it like that, that's why it's important to read. Read. Not so you can believe certain people or me, so you can know if what you're learning or hearing, it's true. If it's true, that is the whole point. That's my initial message to you guys. Now, I kind of wanted to show you guys this video, and I'm not trying to promote. I don't really know what goes on with these prison channels. I try to follow and listen to them here and there. A couple of bros recommended certain things, and I'm like, cool. The reason I'm sharing this with you guys, and I'm not going to share too much about this, I think he's a veterano. I should say that. It's more of what he's mentioning here. FBA, trying to rewrite history without anyone else's contributions. Look, I'm bringing these topics up because we've been going through this for too long. Other people telling us who we are and not knowing who they are. So check this out real quick. I'll go to this part here, and I guess he's mentioning certain situations going on, and apparently, okay, this man was asked if he would let his daughters marry a so-called African American, and he said no, and apparently FBI got all pissed off about it, but they don't realize that black folks say the same shit. So I don't understand what the problem is. But let's listen in real quick. Like I said, it's sipping through. You see, the wobbleism is sipping through because he's going to say it. Check it out.
History. There is a segment with Tariq Nasheed is talking about the Roman Empire. And his analogy or his thoughts on it was that he had proven that the Roman Empire was created by the blacks. That Caesar was black. And that they just went around and painted all the statues of all these gods to portray him as white so that we could hide the greatness of the black people. This is Tariq Nasheed saying this. It's not me. Now, I've also seen Tariq Nasheed and people like Tariq Nasheed attack their own communities, black communities.
So, see, just a brief example how it's sipping through. It's sipping through. And then, by the way, I would like to share this with y'all. I'll tell you what. I'll leave it at the end. All right. So let's start kind of getting into these whole reason for the class. All right. So we know this here. And by the way, appreciate you brothers, man, that support this channel spiritually. I know you guys do. Appreciate y'all. I hope that you don't take it as entertainment, that it actually means something, because I'm going to show you some stuff and you determine what you want to decide on, man. You know what I mean? Let's go.
Colón. And so in Spanish we have it right, Cristóbal Colón. So his real name is Salvador Zarco. All right, but now recently we've discovered that Christopher Columbus, Cristóbal Colón, was known as a quote-unquote marrano. Marrano? The marranos are those that were forced to convert to Roman Catholicism. Well, the Sephardim, the Jews, okay. Forced to convert to Roman Catholicism. Well, the Sephardim, the Jews. Well, the Sephardim, the Jews. Well, the Sephardim, the Jews. Okay.
Okay. So now let me show you this real quick. I showed you this book before. How do I read this over and over again? Some of you guys easily forget. Oh, sorry. Some of you guys easily forget. Let me get this right. Hold on a second, family. Let me move this out the way. Please have the Bible. There it goes right there. No wonder I didn't have it. Okay. All right. So here it goes right here. I thought I had it. Let me do it again. It's a little genocide. A matter of a little genocide. Shared this shit with you guys before. Do you guys recall? This is on the introduction part. You must not forget that what perception of our reality in the past is no longer that perception at all. And these idiots think that by twisting history, because people don't read, they can manipulate our understanding. Clearly, we know now that there's a lot of propaganda going on. We got to be mindful why that's happening. But let's remember, the bigger the lie, the greater the likelihood that it would be delivered or being believed. I'm sorry. During the four centuries, spanning the time between 1492 when Christopher Columbus, yeah, could be Swarty. I have a book here called The Other 1492, The Jewish Settlements in the New World by Norman Finkelstein. On page 2, it says this. There are some scholars who suggest that Columbus himself may have had Jewish roots. Whether this is true or not, there is no doubt that Columbus knew many Jews and that his celebrated voyage was made possible by the contribution and efforts the noted astronomer Abraham Zacuto designed the astronomical charts that assured Columbus a safe voyage. Important Jewish map makers like Crescas brothers were much sought after by other explorers of the time. Among the ship's crew were at least 3 Jews, including Luis de Torres, the interpreter. Right? This is when we get to this whole concept where when we start finding out, like our people here, like, why did they bring somebody speaking Hebrew? You know what I'm saying? Why did they do that? I'm going to show you a book at the end, the similarity between Hebrew and our language here. So once more, it is confirmed from another video that we were dealing with dark-skinned and light-skinned people. So when we say you guys brought smallpox, don't be offended. When we say Willie Lynch's letter was a lie, don't be offended because it's true. When we say that Rosa Parks' story was a lie, don't be offended because it's true. Again, I'm bringing out information because I want to prove something. This isn't just coming from one side. This is coming from all kinds of sides. So I'm not going to let anybody get away with stupidity. So let's continue. It says here. Hold on a second. Christopher, hold on. Okay. Let me start right here. The Census Bureau concluded that there were fewer than 250,000 indigenous people surviving within the country's claimed boundaries. A hemispheric population estimated to have been as great as 125 million was reduced by something over 90%. That's a lot. Think about that. If there's 10 of you in a room, 9 were going to die. The people had died in their millions of being hacked apart with axes and swords. So now when Culo Miados wants to show and bring out this whole concept and ignore and say that we were somehow Mongols, try to conclude the whole concept of them bringing us. Anyways, that's another point. But when you talk that way, and you so-called African man from the West Coast who are claiming to be from this continent here, you completely insult the history. You see, and then with this backset, you have to understand that we're talking about so-called Jews, right? So-called Jews. Now, who did he say was Christopher Columbus? What type of Jew? Ashkenazi Jew or Sephardic Jew? He said Sephardic Jew. So that now, when I consider the facts that these people also finance the slave trade, I have to really, really question who the hell they are. So let's continue. The people had died in their millions of being hacked apart with axes, and swords, burned alive, trampled on the horses, hunted as game, and fed to dogs. This we know, historically speaking, there have been many, many books written. You guys can try to say that supposedly other people suffered this, but I always come back and ask you, okay, where's your diet, Mr. Black Man from America? If you're the original, the Wabo here, how come you don't eat the food we eat? You don't understand nothing about corn, masa, cilantro, tomates. I mean, when have you eaten grasshoppers? Chapulines, güeyes. When have you guys had that diet in your system? We know for a fact, and this has kind of been talked about lately around those little circles, lactose intolerance. I mean, I don't understand how you can come up and say that we even stole that from you. That's pretty stupid. But again, I'm kind of sorting with 3 people right now, 3 mindsets. Some that believe these are Jews, some that believe that these people are people, and some that believe that Sephardics are you guys. So let's continue. These are the same ones that brought axes and swords and burned you alive, trampled your people with horses, hunted you as game, and fed you to dogs, shot, beaten, stabbed, scalped for bounty, hung on meat hooks. You see, you understand this? Beaten, stabbed, scalped for bounty, hanged on meat hooks. This is your children as well. Your wife, your grandma, your tia, your uncle. And thrown over the ships at sea. So now, remember that movie Amistad? You typically see other people falling over ships, but they never give you that actual respect that our gente has gone through that. Yeah, this happened to you too. You see, in this channel, we don't lie. We bring facts. And I know that's emotionally effective to you guys. You don't like this. But hey, you know what? Hit the link. Burned alive, trampled over the horses, hunted his game and fed to dogs, shot, beaten, stabbed, scalped for bounty, hung on meat hooks, thrown over the side of the ships, thrown over the sides of ships at the sea, worked to death as slave laborers, which that's still happening, intentionally starved, frozen to death during a multitude of forced marches and internments, and in an unknown number of instances, deliberately infected with epidemic diseases. We know who brought smallpox. Now, why am I kind of going with this particular issue here? Because remember Zarko, Sephardi, right? Okay, they came, and I want to remind you. So now, but at the same time, these people say they came, but they can't even prove it. I've shared this book before, yeah, and I'm going to share it again. This is publication date 1739. It's a long time, okay? Quite frankly, quite some time. It's called A New Voyage to Italy. I find this very interesting because it's A New Voyage to Italy, Volume 2, Part 1. Make sure you get that one because there's several. Volume 1, Part 2, Volume 3. So it's Volume 2, Part 1. Okay? Now, follow me right here. Check this out. I'm going to go to page 140. And you tell me. It's actually here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read it so we can get a good understanding of what's going on here. Okay. So do not be surprised that these BHIs have supposedly some type of meat to expose the nations that they're the real Jews. Well, that's why we're going to go deep into this whole Spania concept here. We're going to go into that. Now, Obadiah, so you guys can really see what's going on back there. Who the hell is over there? Page 139, it says, I know not why this should be reckoned wonderful. For those who are to be baptized are carefully washed clean, that they must needs be sweet, though they really stunk before. But this ridiculous to imagine that the Jews, pay attention, excuse me. I guess I'm going to puberty again. Sorry, I'm joking. But this ridiculous to imagine that the Jews, as being Jews, have a particular smell. The Jews at Rome are very poor. You see? Those who are poor are always nasty. And those who are nasty usually stink. That is the mystery. This also a vulgar error. That the Jews are all black. Yeah, I'm giving you credit. But you're going to see what it says. You see, here he says that not all of them are black. For this is only true of the Portuguese Jews. So they're considered the negros out of the bunch, who marrying always among one another, beget children like themselves. Consequently, the swarthiness of their complexion is entailed upon their whole race, even in the northern regions. But the Jews who are originally of Germany, those, for example, I have seen at Prague, are not blacker than the rest of their countrymen. So you see, so we got a differences here. So now, in case you guys don't know, these particular towns are divided, and we're going to see it into two particular types of people: the Ashkenazis, the Khazars, or the Sephardics. And here, what it's talking about is that the Sephardics were the black ones, so-called, okay? And that the Germans' northern part were the light-skinned ones, the Ashkenaz. So I need you to understand how, now that we can get these books together, we can kind of picture, okay, I follow. All right, but let's continue. Though, and by the way, I'm sharing with you, and you need to confirm it with what I've shared. Don't just believe me. Just, you got to read it yourself. Though nobody can doubt that those of the Jewish nation are destitute of all authentic tradition, and that as being Jews have not, let's continue here, and have not any particular knowledge either of the laws or customs of their ancestors. You see this? So these black Jews or white Jews, quote, quote, they have no particular knowledge either of the laws or customs of their ancestors or of the Hebrew language. I have, however, been willing to take care or to satisfy you in asking several of their rabbins or rabbis in Germany and Italy about what you had desired, with making them read some periods in Hebrew distinctly to observe how they pronounced it. Without a long time, he says, without a long time here, in entering again into the particularities of our questions, I will tell you that I have forgotten nothing, and that I have drove my curiosity farther than yours. So now he's like, I know you sent me here to, investigate on these people, but you know what? I'm actually more curious about this now than you are. He goes, having not forgot the diverse doubtful things that are marked in the grammars, or which are the results of the different opinions of the grammaring. The answer I have then to make you in a few words about this affair is that these Jews from Portugal all the way through Germany, that these Jews have furnished me with nothing. Nothing. Do you guys understand this? Nothing that one can draw any use from. And indeed, what could they say to Christians? So remember, Christians and these people had some issues. So now some of y'all want to say, oh, it's because, there are people and, they're freaking killing them because they were, teaching the laws. No, they weren't. They were being burned at the stake because they were actually teaching Kabbalah crap. That's why. And I'm going to show you what this Kabbalah stuff says. And you know what I mean? They were like in their face about it. So now these Christians are saying, yo, listen, what is it that you guys can tell us about what we know about you converts? We know that the Iberian Peninsula is being confused, nicknamed other names. We know that the Ashkenazis were actually convert Khazars that came from the Turks, the Volgas, all of that stuff in the actual Crimea region. We understand all of these migrations now. And they're like, what is it that you can reveal to us that we don't know? He says, let me read it again. The answer I have then to make you in a few words about this affair is that these Jews have furnished me with nothing that one can draw any use from. Culomiados, why don't you read? Why? And by the way, well, anyways, I'll continue because you're let me go. And indeed, what could they say to Christians that the Christians do not already know as well as they? You see, he's saying they don't even know that they're the people of the book, bro. They don't even know how to read Hebrew. And I found other material, which I just remembered, that says that they really didn't. As a matter of fact, when they came here, they really focused on reteaching these people, supposedly reteaching. Then it says here, and indeed, what could they say to Christians that the Christians do not already know as they? Have they any secret source or any immediate revelation? Who are those people that claim to be Jews, right? In Portugal, in Spain, Sephardics, Ashkenazis. I don't matter who you are. You Kabbalah pushing bastards. Who are those people that pretend to teach others? On the contrary, he says, they are a poor sort of creatures, so filled with false notions, so conceited in their monstrous ideas, that I would never advise young people to have any commerce with them for the fear of receiving from them ridiculous prejudice. So far, Sephardic or Ashkenazi, don't matter. It was one and the same. They study and love each other to death. I don't see any camps trying to tell us that they're the Southern Kingdom. We're their people. Do you? If they're the Southern Kingdom, where the hell are they? How come they ain't teaching us? So now let's go into this particular topic here, which is, I think it's time to battle it. This is from a book called The Dictionary Bible, edited by James Hastings, dated 1909. Now we're going to go to Obadiah real quick. Okay, because I think it's imperative. It's imperativo that you guys read. Remember that video I showed y'all? Read so you don't fall for the okey doke. Now, this is Obadiah, the book of Obadiah. It's going all the way down here. And you guys can read this. So I just want to get to the point here. Okay. So we're going to get. So now let me explain something here. Hold on. When you go up, excuse me. Oh, remember, I'm reaching my puberty for the first time. Just kidding. When you go up or when you go down, you're going to start seeing little V's here, like verse 1 through 7, stuff like that. Okay. So that's all it's talking about. It's giving it its explanation on particular verses of that book. So if we go further down, let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's get to the nitty gritty. All right. This is why I suggest to read. Read. The prediction of universal judgment. It says here, in contrast with verse 1 through 7 or 10 through 14, the tense in verse 15 and 16 through 21 are consistently imperfects, naturally suggesting the future. The persons addressed, second people, are Israelites, not Edomites. And Edom is referred to in the third person. The prophecy predicts an imminent, a universal judgment, verse 15, in which the annihilation of Edom by the Jews, not nomadic nations, as in verse 1, 5, and 7. The Israelites form an episode which is specially described in verse 18. And B, the restoration of the exiles alike of the northern and of the southern kingdom. So I'm going to stop right there. Let's read this real quick. Okay? So check this out. Obadiah 1 and 20 says this. I'll read it in this translation first. It says, and the captivity of this host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites, even unto Zarephath, and the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in SEPHAR-DICK, and shall possess the cities of the south. So you see different translations. It kind of says the same thing, right? But here's where it changes. In the GMD, it says the armies of the exiles in southern and northern Israel will return and conquered Phoenicia as far north as Zarephath. So I want you to remember Phoenicia, Philistines, Tyrese. Remember that? Okay, let's continue. The exiles from Jerusalem who are in Sardis. So now here we see Zephyrat, but here we see Sardis. And then here we see Ephrata. I mean, you know what I mean? So you got to be mindful that there's a lot of different meanings to this place. And then also you got to remember the timeline. The timeline is important. You cannot ignore the timeline. So then now let's go back. So it says here, who are to okay, so let's go. It says here, so the Israelites form an episode which is specially described, verse 18, and the restoration of the exiles who exiles alike of the northern and of the southern kingdom, who are to reoccupy. Let's remember that. Who are to reoccupy the whole territory. Who are to reoccupy the whole of their ancient territory. You see what Obadiah is almost referencing. This is where it gets interesting, because you have to understand when you're reading the scriptures, you don't one word in that you base your doctrine on that. Well, in that case, go back to John 3:16 and you're a Christian once more, because I can do that too. Then it says here, who are to reoccupy the whole of their ancient territory. The Negeb in the south, the Shephelah in the west, Ephraim to the north, Gilead in the east. So it's talking about the region of the land, correct? Then it says verse 19, which after elimination of glosses reads, and they shall possess the Negeb and the Shephelah and the fields of Ephraim and Gilead. In particular, the Israelites will reoccupy as far north as Zarephath near Tyre. You see this? And the Jews as far as the Negeb. The prophecy closes with the announcement of the Yahweh or Yah's reign from Zion. You see this Zarephath. So then what do we read here? They call it that right there. You see this? This is where now this is even when it gets even more interesting, because I think in one of these they call this Sarepta. Now, this to me seems very awkward that you would even consider anywhere near that territory of Tarsus, because Tarsus was considered that town, and we're going to see that in a little bit. But let's continue. Okay. Now, here's another thing. When you read Maccabees 1 and 11, okay, it's kind of confusing here now. Now, not for me, but I'm just, I'm asking, because I'm like, okay. So me particularly, matter of fact, I'm just going to say it how I see it. I'm going to say it's kind of confusing. I'm just going to tell you what I see. First Maccabees 11 and 1, I'll read it. Then it says, the king of Egypt gathered together a great host like the sand that lieth upon the seashore, and many ships, and went about through deceit to get Alexander's kingdom and to join it to his own. Whereupon he took the journey to Spain in a peaceable manner, so that as they of the cities opened unto him and met him, for the king Alexander had commanded them to do so, because he was his brother-in-law. Now, okay, let me continue. Now, as Ptolemy entered into the cities, he set in every one of them a garrison of soldiers to keep it. Now, here's what interesting gets. There's several stuff here that's pretty deep. And when he came near to Azotus, they showed him the temple of the Dagon that was burnt, and Azotus and the suburbs thereof that were destroyed. Now, you're wondering, okay, what's going on here? Exactly. Alexander the Great, or even Alexander's kingdom, first of all, never went as far as Spain. That I need you to understand. It never went as far as Spain. Alexander the Great's kingdom was never in Spain, what we know of Spain today. Okay? So then also, it's saying like it's talking about a closer region, like kind of like you're not too far apart. You know what I mean? Because remember, they don't have like fast ass ships. We're talking about boats and people walking. Now, this land here, Azotus, I'm going to show you what that means. And by the way, here, I'm going to show you the little picture. Okay, here. This is the kingdom of Alexander. That's the kingdom of Alexander. Okay? And it's nowhere near where over there. Way over there. But now we're looking at Spain. Like, okay, that's, you know what I mean? Like, oh, hold on a second, family. Go to the next one. Now, Azotus is another different point that I want to make. But it's like, so where exactly is this concept here? It's Spain stuff, you know what I mean? Now, here's the interesting part that I matter of fact, I had it already clear. Here's the interesting part, okay? Here's what even gets more interesting. So now, that's why I keep telling y'all, man, use as many translations as you can so you can understand what's going on. If you read Maccabees 11, okay? If you read Maccabees 11, remember it says, whereupon he took the journey into Spain in peaceable manner. So you're thinking, okay, Egypt is nowhere close to Spain, but Ptolemy is technically running that Egyptian area. And then he says that they went somewhere near to Azotus. So matter of fact, let's look up the word Azotus. Look, so where is that? So this word, Ashdod, that's what it means. Azotus is Ashdod. Biblical Azotus, also known as Ashdod. So now you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Spain way the hell over there? Egypt here? And then like Ashdod? You mean like right there in Palestine? Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Bruh.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on a second. That makes no sense. Okay, so now it even gets even more interesting, because now let's look at the Septuagint. Look what it says. And that's why you have to read and you have to confirm everything. And it cannot be emotional. And here goes First Maccabees 11, verse 1 from the Septuagint. This was back then, way before we were born. And the king of Egypt gathered together the great host, like the sand that lieth upon the seashore, and many ships, and went about through the sea to get Alexander's kingdom and join it to his own. Whereupon he took his journey into Syria in peaceable manner. What the hell, bro? Syria? He calls it Syria here, but it's called Spain here. You see? So now, okay. So let me look up the word, this right here. Hispania. It says here.
Strong's G 4681, Spania. Spania.
Spain, scarceness. The whole peninsula south of the Pyrenees. Probably foreign origin. It says here the apostolic age, Romans. They use it in 1524. The more common grammar is formed in Maccabees 8. Apparently, the Phoenician or Latin name for, right? Remember this name. Phoenicians. 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 All right. Now, check this out. Now, I'm going to show you this real quick. Now, if you read it in this book, which is Geneva, and let's just read it, just for the sake of covering, make sure that there's no like narrative here. It says, "And the captivity of his horses of the children of Israel, which were among the Canaanites, shall possess unto Zarephath, and the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sepharat, shall possess the cities of the south." Now, my next question is, if this is Spain, shall possess the cities of the south, well, where's the south beyond that? Spain is in the south. Is that North? That would be North Africa, but now we're not in the south now. Now we're in the North Africa part. Again, I'm trying to make sure that we understand all angles, because here we see once again in the Septuagint, he's calling Spain Syria. And then when you actually go into, the actual word, Obadiah, you go to 20, okay? You click on this because this is what it's here for us to learn. And I mean, it's not difficult. You know what I mean? You can't make it up. You can't go around it unless, then this doesn't matter unless you don't believe this. Then don't ever use this ever again. Don't ever mention concordances, or don't ever talk about that. Because here it says H5614, it says separated.
Strong's H 5614, Sepharad. Sepharad.
It says here a foreign derivation, Sepharad, a region of Assyria. Okay, but check this out. Then it says location dubious. The other compared to Sparta in Asia Minor. Sardis. So it says compared to I don't know what that means, honestly. Compare Sepharda in the southwest Media, the time of Zargon, and the Sepharda in the northeast of Nineveh. It says a country elsewhere unknown, whither the exiles of Israel were carried away, according to the Vogue. Then it says here, according to the Syrian dial, the Hebrew writer Spain, which is clearly incorrect. Are we ignoring this now? It's saying it here in the concordance. It is clearly incorrect. That translation does not pertain to this one, because you're talking about an era that's extremely important. You have to understand what the eras are like. So now, remember I showed you guys Sarepta. Check this out. In Obadiah, in the Septuagint, it says here, remember Obadiah 1 Maccabees 11 and 2 in the Septuagint calls Spain Syria. Okay? Now, in the Septuagint, in Obadiah 1 and 20, it says this, and this shall be the dominion of the captivity of the children of Israel, the land, okay, of the Canaanites, as far as Zarepta. And then it says, and the captivities of Jerusalem shall inherit as far as Ephratah. And I'm like, okay, so now I go, okay, so what is Sarepta? So Sarepta is near Lebanon by the Phoenician city, okay? So let's say from the south. And then I go, Ephrata, I seen that somewhere. I'm not lying to you, family. This is why it's important to read. Because if you don't read, you can get easily manipulated. So I was reading this book I have here. Oh, hold on a second. Let me see if I can find the page first. Find the page, bro. Find the page, bro. Okay, here it goes. Here, let me just move it over here. All right, so let me see if I can go back. I'll show you guys this in a little bit. Oh, here it goes right here. Here it goes right here. Here it goes. So this is why I was tripping out. Remember, hold on. Remember, it says, oh, no. It says here, and the captives of Jerusalem shall inherit as far as Ephrata. Right? Okay. Here on this book, which is called The Bible Charts, Rose Books of Bible Charts, Maps, and Timelines. Excellent book if you want to teach your children or your wife, if she's newer to this whole understanding. This is an excellent book to have them. It has maps, charts, extended pages. It even includes something you can actually do separate from this. You can frame it. It actually breaks down different religions too. So again, you got to be mindful what you're showing your family, but it's a really good book. So anyways, in this book it says, "Be born in the town of Bethlehem of Judea." It says Micah 5:2, "But you, Bethlehem Ephrata." What the hell? Ephrata? But you, Bethlehem Ephrata? But you, Bethlehem Spaniard? You see what I'm saying? Here we see the same thing, the same name, Ephrata. So now, why am I doing this? Because you have to really understand what each word means. I'm not here trying to be friends with people, bro, just because, oh, it's cool. No, man. I'm trying to save my ass. Sarepta is in Phoenicia. So now it's like, dude, it keeps mentioning towns within Jerusalem or Israel. Egypt, Phoenicia, Ashdod. Come on, man. So again, let's continue. Because like you have to really understand. I'll give you an example here. Here's another part. So if we go to, I think I showed it in this one, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was here, so I don't forget. Obadiah 120. And the armies of the exiles from northern Israel will return and conquer Phoenicia. You see? And the army of the exiles from the northern Israel will return and conquer Phoenicia as far as Sarepta. The exiles from Jerusalem who are in Sardis will capture the towns of southern Judah. So now I'm like, okay, well that can't be so. So where's Sardis? It's from another book I have regarding the actual, just like a similar chart book. Well, here is in Asia Minor at the tip, as you see where Paul traveled. You see where Sardis is right here? Message to Sardis, you have a name that you are alive, but you are dead. Sardis was here, not in Spain. So again, sometimes when there's discrepancies, you got to confirm it. Because once more, we read it and we got concordance. Do we ignore it now?
Strong's H 5614, SEPHAR-DICK. SEPHAR-DICK.
So here it talks about compared to Sparta in Asia Minor. And we're going to read that word too in a little bit. Then it says compare to SEPHAR-DICK in the southwest of Media, the time of Sargon. A SEPHAR-DICK also northeast of Nineveh. Then it says here on the bottom, and the Hebrew writers Spain, which is clearly incorrect. Others suppose Sephara, but this apparently would be rather. You see this right here. Let me see what you got, bro. Let's not forget the Aryans are the original Europeans, the people of ancient Iran. Ooh. And again, it's only one time. Just one word. One time. You find Spain twice in Romans. You find Spain twice in Maccabees. So now let's get a little history on Hispania. It says here Hispania, nearly identical, pronounced Spain, Portugal, Catalan, was the Roman name for the Iberian Peninsula. I'm gonna give you some history on this too, by the way. And under Roman Republic, Hispania was divided in two provinces: Hispania Superior and Hispania Ulterior. Little history here. Then we see the etymology. The origin are very disputed. Very true. The most commonly held theory holds it that be of Punic origin from Phoenician language. Now we know that the Philistines, right, Phoenicia, was seeking for tin in Tarsus. We know that. I mean, if you read the Bible, you should understand. And by the way, I did a class on this in 2022, like in October, I believe. Okay, and I think it's verse 27, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Here it's talking about all the people that he worked with to get people in slavery. Tarshish. Ezekiel 27:12. Tarshish was thy merchant by the reason of the multitudes of the rich of kinds of riches with silver, iron, tin, and lead, and they traded in their fairs. Who? Verse 3. I say unto Tyrese, hold out that are situated in the entry of the sea, which are a merchant of the people of many isles. Thus say the Lord God, O Tyrese, thou hast said, I am of perfect beauty. So we see the lamentation of Tyre. So we know now that there was history in Tyre. I'm sorry, in Tarsus or Tarsus. And I'm gonna show you some stuff that shows that. But again, let's continue. So we have some Phoenician history regarding the first war and the second Punic War, the colonizing of Carthage, because this is who was fighting with the Romans at the time. All right. So look, it says here, and some people like to laugh, but I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Because I read. So who's more of an idiot? The most commonly held theory holds it to be the Punic origin for the Phoenician language of colonizing Carthage. Specifically, it may derive from a Punic cognate, Isapan, or Hebrew, Isaphan, Hebrew, meaning island of the Hyrax. Small, stout, herbivoric mammals in the order of hyracoids, meaning referring to the European rabbit. Phoenicians, Punic, and Hebrew are both Canaanite languages and therefore closely related to each other. Some Roman coins of the Emperor Hadrian, born in Hispania, depict Hispania in a rabbit. Others derive the word from Phoenician spam, meaning hidden. There is true that for quite some time, the Phoenicians were actually digging for tin and gold and silver. And matter of fact, it's even read in the Bible. We see that in the Bible too. Because we know that Solomon was actually sending them to start. Matter of fact, I'll show you here. He was sending them to Tarshish. Oh, my bad. See? So we have Tarshish, which is in the sons of Javan, Genesis 10:4. The sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. In First Chronicles talks about it again. I'm sorry, Second Chronicles 9:21. For the kingships went to Tarshish with the servants of Haran. Every 3 years once they came to the ships of Tarshish, bringing gold, silver, ivory, and apes and peacocks. Though we'll continue to see. So now, let's go to the history of Hispania. The history of Spain dates to contact between the pre-Roman peoples of Mediterranean coast and Iberian Peninsula made with the Greeks and Phoenicians. we see that during classical antiquity, the peninsula was a suite of multiple successive colonizations. Greeks, Carthaginians, and Romans. Native people of the peninsula, such as the Tartessos. You see that? Where's that at, family? Southern Spain. Southern Spain. I'm not lying. I'm telling you. Tarshish is in the Bible. And Tarshish, it's not Sepharad. And Tarshish would have been called Spain, but it's not called Spain. So we're talking about something else. Tartessos, Spanish, Tartessos, is defined by archaeological discoveries, a historical civilization settled in southern Iberian Peninsula. Iberia is a peninsula in and again, I don't want to get too deep into that word, but I'll go someday into it so you can see how interesting that goes. Characterized by its mixture of local Paleo-Hispanic and Phoenician traits. It had a writing system identified as Tarsenian that includes some 97 inscriptions of Tarsenian language. That is Portuguese, that mainly located in south of Portugal and southwest of Spain. If Sepharad was Spain, why didn't they call it Tarsis? Why would you do that? You know what I mean? And clearly it's telling you that it's not Spain. We can continue to go. Even Herodotus speaks on it. Here we see some history. Now, it's mentioned Sargon. Who is this Sargon? Sargon, by the way, was in the you can hear about him in the Assyrian Wars. Okay? We're talking about a while. Sargon's rise to power. Salmanassar V, it comes from that lineage. Like, let's put it this way. I think Sargon II is around 700 BC. Okay? 700 BC. Expanding into Syria Empire throughout conquest. Obadiah was not written in 700 BC. Stop lying. Do your homework. Sargon's capital city. So this is what we're talking about here. Sargon. Now, let me show you something. Is it in here? Okay, it's not in here. Let's go a little history here. Sargon. Sargon flourished 23rd century BC, was an ancient Mesopotamian ruler who reigned 2334, 2279 BC. See, there's some history to this. He was one of the earliest of the world's great empires builders, conquering all southern Mesopotamia as well as parts of Syria, Anatolia, and Elam, west Iran. He established the region's first Semitic dynasty, because he was of the line of Abraham, technically, in case you guys don't know. So when you go into this Sargon, I think it's in here. Is it in here? No, it's not in here. Do a little homework on Sargon. Now, we look into this word here, and then you start kind of getting interesting in this. It says Sepharad, or Sepharad is a Hebrew language name of the Iberian Peninsula. So they say, consisting of both modern times. But see, this is what you're talking about. If you just go to quick Wikipedia, that's what it says. So everybody's gonna get confused, because if you go here, well, yeah, that's easy. That's not a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? That's not a lot of work. I mean, that's easy. Hey, look, this is what it means. Yeah, if that's what it meant. But that's not what it means. Let's continue. Check this out. This is from the Bible Gateway, Sepharad. A place mentioned by Obadiah as the site of the exiles of certain captives from Jerusalem. It has been identified with SEPHAR-DICK, a country which appears in the Assyrian annals of Sargon II as a district of southwest Media. Isaiah chapter 55. Most probable, however, it is to be identified with Sargon Sardis. Once again, where's Sardis? Right here at the edge of Asia Minor. That's where Sardis is. The capital of Lydia. The difference in spelling is not linguistically objectable since an Aramaic Lydian bilingual inscription found at Sardis refers to Sardis as the same consonant as in Sepharad. Sardis appears as Sparta in Old Persian inscription. In the light of this, the citation of Sepharad and Obadiah is of great historical importance, for it indicates the existence of Jewish colonies at Sardis as early as the book of Obadiah, which was written, by the way. I think it's important to kind of show y'all. I think it only makes sense. Obadiah was not written in 700 BC. Please do your homework. Obadiah was written around 590 BC, 580 BC, 40 to 50 years prior to us departing the 10 tribes, so-called. Not in 700 BC at all. I don't know where you're getting this. In light of this, the citations of Sepharad in Obadiah 20 is of great historical importance, for this indicates the existence of the Jewish colony at Sardis as early as the book of Obadiah. The importance of Sardis as a center of trade between the sea routes of the Aegean and the interior land routes make it not surprising that Jewish exiles should be found there. The Targums mistakenly identify Sepharad with Spain, hence Spanish Jews are called Sephardims. And by the way, nowhere can you find that this demon here is a Sephardic Jew. I heard through a little birdie that now Bartolomé de las Casas was a Sephardic Jew. Yeah, that's what I heard. So now, in order for, I guess, some people to fit a narrative, now they're trying to tell you that Bartolomé de las Casas was a Jew. He wasn't. You know who was?
His name is Colón. And so in Spanish, we have it right, Cristóbal Colón. So his real name is Salvador Zarco. All right. But now, recently, we've discovered that Christopher Columbus, Cristóbal Colón, was known as a quote-unquote marrano. Marrano?
That's funny, bro.
The marranos are those that were forced to convert to Roman Catholicism. Well, the Sephardim, the Jews. Okay.
They are. Now, let's get a little history here. Now that we're trying to understand this whole Obadiah crap, because we know it's flawed. It's flawed, too flawed. If you're gonna believe that, then by all means, please, I'll go off for it, man. By all means, please go off for it. But if you're gonna try to tell me those are my hinted, hell, F no. So as you can see from the book that I was talking about, A New Voice to Italy, it talks about the Germans, right? Jews and the Southern Jews, like Portuguese or Spaniards, whatever. Which typically, like, it wasn't necessarily down here, but it's right there. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's talking about, Portugal. So you can see that, okay? So now, let's get a little history on these guys. For the last 1,000 years, sure, the Jewish people have, for the most part, been grouped into two categories. The Ashkenaz and the Sepharad. Contemporary Ashkenazim, or Yiddish-speaking Jews, and descendants of Yiddish-speaking Jews, right? It says, descendants of Yiddish-speaking Jews. Sephardim originates in the Iberian Peninsula and Arabic lands. While there's a difference in culture, language, genetics, and nuance of ritual or observances, the commonality between the two groups are much stronger than what divides them. Thus, a Sephardi from Morocco and an Ashkenazi from Moscow would immediately find common ground in a prayer service that is 95% identical. 95% identical in their spiritual belief. That has to matter to you too. Don't go by one word. And if it is by one word, Understand what that word means and make sure you do a thorough analysis on that particular thing. Because your whole doctrine is based on those things. If you're kind of like Christianity, it's based on John 3:16. And that is flawed. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. They all practice the same customs. Yeah, they do. I'm going to show you. Hey, by the way, Warakuya. So here it says here, Sepharad is the Hebrew name for Spain. It's not true. That's the Jewish people live in Spain, and the Abraham Peninsula became known as Sephardim. But it's not true. The earliest record Jewish settlements in Spain dates back to 3rd century, and Jews may have been living in Spain since the First Temple period. Once again, not true. Because we got the Vulgars and a lot of people in the Franks. We got a lot of people that really, really were going back and forth. The Phoenicians, come on, man. Let's go. Having grown into prominence under Muslim rule, they were arguably the most illustrious Jewish community in the world. Sepharad produced the Torah scholars, scientists, financiers. Oh, let's read it again. Sepharad produced Torah scholars, scientists, financiers, and thought leaders who worked as still being studied today, including Isaac Abravanel, okay, Nachmanides, known by the acronym Rambam on the Torah, and Maimonides or Maimonides. He was known by acronym, and he was a codified philosopher, communal leader, and custom position to Sultan Saladin in Egypt. Author of a commentary on the Mishnah, the book of mitzvahs, Mishneh Torah, the guided of the perplexed, and other works. So here we see that these people here, the Jews in Sepharad, developed their own language, Ladino, which is why I'm telling you there's a history in the word Ladino in Mexico. In case you guys don't know, do your homework. So now, here we go here, the origins of Ashkenaz. You guys can see it. You know, they're going to tell us some stuff. Ashkenaz in biblical name is grandson of Japheth. Perhaps because the area had been from Rome, blah, blah, blah. You guys can kind of see where it's going. I'm going to show you this. As Jews in Ashkenaz suffered successful waves of murderous crusades, Talmud burnings, massacres, and severe repressions, they made their way to the more welcoming lands to the east. There, Ashkenazi lives flourished. And Yiddish, a Jewish concoction of German and Hebrew, Aramaic, and more, became the dominant language of the Jews in Eastern Europe until the double scourges of Nazism and communism. Sure. So now, here's what's interesting. The burning of Talmuds. We're going to get into it in a little bit. What is the difference? Not really much. Maybe a little bit of different food. You know what I'm saying? Maybe. It says that Sephardim spoke mostly Ladino, Portuguese, or Arabics. So they say. But we see from the new voyage of Italy, the new voyage to Italy, says that they can't prove that they were. They have no understanding of their history. They were just called Jews by name. Now, Ashkenazim stored their Torah, scrolls in velvet covers, so they say. But let's continue. And then we'll move on from this. Because I think at this point, I've proven my point. Some great Ashkenazis and Sephardic leaders. Hasdia ibn Saprut was the person that was in communication. I think this date is wrong because I believe this is the person that was in communication with the Khazars when they were converting. Well, here goes right here. Look, Ashkenaz. Sepharad, supposedly. Look, Rif, Sepharad, a native of Fez, Morocco, rabbi. That Morocco is North Africa, by the way. Summarized the entire Talmud. That's not the Torah. Rashi, Torah and Talmud leader. Reuben Otam, commentator to the Talmud. Born in Spain, perhaps most influential teacher of Torah. Rabbi Moses Ben Miaman, that's basically Maimonides, wrote extensively in Jewish law. This guy here, Rosh, he drew from both Ashkenazi and Sephardic traditions. In his halachic commentary on the Talmud. And so on, and so on, and so on. What is the Talmud? We've gone through this a couple times already. I'm trying to make a point. The rise of Sephardim, man. Here is where I have an issue regarding their so-called flourishing golden age. That's where I'm a little confused. How can you be blessed by the Most High? Right? How can you be blessed by the Most High? Flourish in this golden era that they call it. Okay? And have and be teaching this here. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to let it say it. Like, this is what they were teaching back then. How can you say to me that, oh, well, you know, it was the golden era? See, scriptures say that if you don't keep the commandments, you don't get blessed. And I know they weren't teaching the Bible. They were teaching the Talmud, the Mishnah, everything that's included in that. The SEPHAR-DICK, they were teaching that. That's why they were burning at the stake. Let's continue.
Meshiacha. I don't know if you know this. Do you know that they gave Donald Trump the silver crown of the Torah recently, which is to be put on the head of the Messiah? Do you know this? Who's that? 163 Orthodox rabbis. Oh, wow. Came together at Trump's golf course and handed him the silver crown. Do you know any of that? Nope. They gave him a menorah about 2 weeks ago, and on the bottom, the scripture says the Prince of Peace, an utterance out of the prophet Isaiah for the Mashiach, the Messiah. Do you know that happened? So you guys have no idea that they, in Israel, the Knesset, and in the Sanhedrin, have proclaimed Donald Trump the Messiah. Nope. You know none of this. They gave Trump the silver crown of the Torah. Got that? That's the silver crown of Jerusalem. This is to be given to the Messiah and the Messiah only. And 163 Orthodox Jewish rabbis gave Donald Trump the silver crown of the Torah. I worked 4 years on Trump's campaign team. These guys are, this is the inscription, which you can't read, but you can read it here. They're calling him the Prince of Peace. This is an utterance out of the prophet Isaiah. Donald Trump is considered the Meshiach of Israel, the Messiah, according to these rabbis.
This is both of them in agreement. Not just Ashkenazis, not just Khazars. You're going to carve out the Khazars. Oh, the Ashkenazis tell us we're not the people, but, you know, Sephardics are because they're the northern kingdom. You guys are crazy, bro. To believe that silliness. That just means that you don't study, you don't know the Bible. And I don't know why you're being misled, people. I don't understand how you cannot actually see and confirm it for yourself. Because scripturally speaking, check this out. Here we see Holofernes asking questions. Okay? The chief captain of the army of Ashur. They're trying to pass through that hill country, and he's asking about Israel. So now he's going through the whole history. I bring you guys regarding Abraham to this book as well. Judith 5. Remember Abraham, the Chaldeans, okay. In this very same chapter, I'm sorry, not book, he goes and says this. He's talking about how when we were with the Most High, he got rid of all these other nations for us. Then he says this, verse 17, Judith 5:17. And while they sin not before their God, let me repeat that. And while they sin not before their God, that also includes not teaching people the Talmud, the Mishnah, and that doesn't mean that, oh, only a section of us were teaching that. No, that means that if a section of you are teaching it, everybody suffers. Why do you think we're still going through what we're going through? You don't have people in Christianity? But all of a sudden, that's ignored. It says, and while they sinned not before their God, meaning when they were just keeping the Torah, not the Talmud or Mishnah or Zohar or the SEPHAR-DICK or the Ein Sof or the Tree of Life or the 10 connections of Jacob's Ladder, all of that stuff that comes included with the Kabbalah teaching, which is what the Talmud is derived. It's basically part of its branch. And while they sinned not before their God, they prospered because the God that hated iniquity was with them. You telling me that the Most High loves the Talmud? You telling me that the golden age with the Jews, with the Moors, that they were good because, like, is this what you're saying? They prospered because the God that hated iniquity was with them. I'm going to show you some history regarding these people, how they were teaching. The Sephardics and Ashkenazis were practicing Kabbalah. Ain't no lie to that. I don't have to lie. There's no need for it. I'll show you. As a matter of fact, let's bring it to you now. It says, but when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and were led captive into a land that was not theirs, and the temple of their God was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies. But now they are returned to their God, and are come up from the places where they were scattered, and have possessed Jerusalem, where the sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. So now, if you want to go and say, well, you see, they fell, but now they're back. So what you're saying is the Talmud is still working for them. So the Most High is about the Talmud. Is that what we're going to say now? Let's go to the history of the Jews. This is a very interesting book. I highly recommend for you guys to get it. What? Stop it. I recommend for you to get it. Okay. In page 469, watch what it says regarding the Kabbalah. It says the theoretical Kabbalah. The Jews considered the Kabbalah one section of their traditional. By the way, this is from the book called A History of the Jews by Solomon Grazel. Some of you guys know about this book. So let's continue. Actually, no. I don't think it's that one. Hold on. Give me a second, okay? Hold on. I got it incorrect. I think it's 469. Oh, no. It is that one. It is A History of the Jews, okay? So it says here now. Let's go back. The Jews considered the Kabbalah one section of their traditional theoretical teachings. Okay? Remember the North and the South. The same Jews, quote unquote, are Jewish. They can't prove their history. They don't know nothing about their ancestry. They can't even pronounce words properly, okay? Yet one result of the situation, I'm sorry, hold on. Let me start again. The Jews considered the Kabbalah one section of their traditional theoretical teaching, hopeful, revealing, inspiring, but not calling for action other than deeper piety. Yet one result of the situation in which the Jews found themselves in the 16th century was a change in attitude towards the Kabbalah. This change was the more remarkable because it occurred among the Spanish Jews. The Sephardics. Okay? Until the 13th century, they had differed from German and French Jews in that the latter were more interested in Kabbalah, meaning Germans and French, while the Spanish were more rationalistic and philosophical. Not that they weren't teaching or learning the Kabbalah, but they were more like maybe in the Zohar, because that's more of the rationalistic and philosophical. Maimonides is a Sephardic rabbi, so obviously they were learning from him. It was around this time. When, however, misfortune began to overcome, I'm sorry, not around that time, it was a little bit after, my bad. When, however, misfortune began to overwhelm the Jews of Spain, as life became more troubled, as the future grew more dark, Kabbalistic teachings gained in popularity among them. The expulsion of 1492 completed the victory of the mysticism. Thereafter, the Jews of Spanish origin became the leaders in the study of Kabbalah. Are you telling me that they were ruling? And even when they weren't getting it so bad, we see that the Germans and the French were studying it more than them. Scripturally speaking, it says here, hey man, but when they departed, Judith 5:18, but when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles. However, while they sinned not, that's verse 17, and while they sinned not before their God, they prospered. You telling me that these were the golden ages? They were prospering when they were teaching the Talmud, the Zohar, the splendors, the Mishnah, all of that stuff? I'm confused. So, I mean, if that case, so we can go to strip joints then. Have multiple wives, go sin all our lives. That don't matter. It don't matter because I guess it doesn't matter. It says they saw, and it says, so it says here, let me read it again. The expulsion of 1492 completed the victory of mysticism. Thereafter, the Jews of Spanish origin, SEPHAR-DICK, became the leaders in the study of Kabbalah. They sought in it the reason for the suffering they had to endure, as well as an indication of the time and the conditions of their redemption. As might have been expected, the thought of redemption was more prominent in the minds of the new settlers in Palestine than among the Jews than among the other Jews. Let's see. This is the same page. Thought the Messiah would appear. Let's see. Do I need to read this? The practical. Okay, practical Kabbalah. These people were not superstitious. Superstition fundamentally is based on fear. Actually, you know what? I don't need to read that because that's kind of the point I wanted to make. So now we're seeing some teachings of Kabbalah, right? They took it upon themselves. But now let's look at this real quick. This is from a book called The Talmud Unmasked. The Secret Rabbinical Teachings Concerning Christians. Right? Written in 1939. All right. Let's go to, I think maybe this page. We read this one. I think it's here. Page 8. Check this out. It says here, let our writings be open to all the people. Let them see what our moral code is like. We need not be afraid of this test, for we have a pure heart and a clean spirit. Let the nations investigate the habitations of the children of Israel, and of their own accord, convince themselves of what they are really like. You see this? So let us supposedly see the Talmud for what it is, so then we can see us as how they see us, like animals. They will then exclaim for certain with Balaam when he went out to curse Israel. How beautiful are thy tents of Israel? How beautiful are thy homes? In its attitude towards non-Jews, the Jewish religion is the most tolerant of all religions in the world. The precepts of the ancient rabbis, though inimical to the Gentiles, cannot be applied in any way to Christians. You see this? You see this? Okay, so now let me just kind of, hold on. Let me read this. The whole series of opinions can be quoted from the writings of the highest rabbinical authorities to prove that these teachers inculcated in their own people a great love and respect for Christians, in order that they might look upon Christians who believe in the true God as brothers and pray for them. We hereby declare that the Talmud does not contain anything inimical to Christians. That's what they say. But let's go here. On page 19. No. Where you at? Is it this one? I'll start here. It says here, let's see. You see this? Let me read this again real quick. Since the Talmud was such a voluminous, disordered work, there was need of a compendium which would facilitate the study. To supply this need, thereby Rabbi Isaac ben Jacob Al-Fisi in 1032 published a shorter Talmud, which he called Halakot, the Constitution. You see this? The first to issue a well-ordered work in Jewish law was Maimonides, styled Eagle of the Synagogue. Interesting. So now let's continue. So Maimonides is somebody that they really, really care about. Maimonides is a Sephardic rabbi who, again, added commentaries to the Talmud. Let's see this real quick. Watch what he says. In the track Bahab Metzi, Folly 33, those who devote themselves to reading the Bible exercise a certain virtue, but not very much. Those who study the Mishnah exercise virtue for which they will receive a reward. Those, however, who take upon themselves to study the Gemara exercise the highest virtue. So here it says that the Bible don't mean nothing to them. The sacred scriptures is like water, the Mishnah wine, and the Gemara aromatic wine. Then he says somewhere else, my son, give heed to the words of the scribes rather than to the words of the law. Here, look, I'll do this. Well, technically, I already gave you guys the name of the book. Let me see if I can give you guys a link. There was a link. The words of both, look what it says. The words of both are the words of the living God. In the book of Meshiacha, chapter 5, we find the following opinion. There's nothing superior to the Holy Talmud. You see this right here? Nothing superior to the Holy Talmud. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? Now, let's continue. What Christians have taught of the Talmud is amply proved by the many edicts and decrees issued by the supreme ruler, the church, the state, yada, 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 yada. We see this here, that even back then, these guys were actually getting pissed at them. Look, in 553, the Emperor Justinian forbade the spread of the Talmudic books throughout the Roman Empire. In 13th century, Pope Gregory the Ninth and Innocent IV condemned the books of the Talmud as containing every kind of vileness and blasphemy against Christian truth, and ordered them to be burned because they spread horrible heresies. You see this here? Yeah, they added and subtracted from the scriptures. Later, they were condemned by many other Roman pontiffs. So we see several, and by others who issued an edition of the Index Forbidden Books according to the order of the Father of Council 10, and even on our own time. So those that are going around saying, oh, they were being burned because they were our brethren. No, they were being burned because they were pushing the Talmud. That's why they were being burned. At the beginning of the 16th century, when the peace of the church was disturbed by the new religions, the Jews began to distribute the Talmud openly, aided by the art of printing them recently invented. The first printed edition of the whole Talmud, containing all its blasphemies against the Christian religion, was published in Venice in 1520, or the year 1520. In almost all Jewish books published in that century, which was favorable to them, and are complete and genuine. Now, keep in mind that at this time, they were planning on taking away the Bible from us, which is, we never got that this whole entire time. They were, however, printing the stuff they wanted. So at the end of the 16th century, we still didn't get no Bible. And at the beginning of the 17th century, they made sure not to print anything. We didn't know how to read and write. Many famous men undertook diligent study to the Talmud. The Jews, fearing for themselves, began to expunge parts of the Talmud which were openly inimical to Christians. Thus, the Talmud, which was published at Bales in 1578, has been mutilated in many places. Now you see. Now, why do I keep bringing this up? Why is this important? Because it is important. It is definitely important. Check this out. Let's go to page 14, I believe. Is it page 14? Check this out. This is the Freemasonry book, volume 1. And they actually study the Talmud. Okay? Their definition of Adam is this. The entered apprentice decree symbolizes the creation of man and his first perception of life. In the Elohist form of the creation, we read, Elohim said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fishes and the seas, over the fowls of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every reptile that creepeth upon the earth. And Elohim created man in his image. In the image of Elohim, he created him. In the image of Elohim, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Okay? So it says, and Yah, well, you know what it says, Yah, I'll just say Yah. Elohim formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man was made a living being. Here we see something interesting. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I thought it was already highlighted. My bad. Okay, here goes, I think it says right here. There it goes, right here. According to the Jewish tradition, okay, this is from the Freemasonry book. According to Jewish tradition, in the Targum and the Talmud, as also to Moses, Maimonides, do you understand that? The Maimonides, the Sephardic rabbi. Adam was created man and woman at the same time, having two faces, turned into two opposite directions, and that during a stupor, the Creator separated Hava, his feminine half, from him in order to make of her a distinct person. Thus were separated the primordial androgen, meaning androgynous. Wow. This is from the Talmud on Mask. Just go to just a few pages and that's it. I'm not going to go too deep on this. You guys can actually take care of the link. Here you go right there. I think it's important to you guys understand what this actually means. Oh, I already went through this. My bad. Because this right here, these books, in case you care, maybe you don't. Maybe some of you guys don't care. Here we see how they feel about the Meshiach. I'll just read this and see what you feel about it, okay? Just one portion of it. This is from a book called the Talmud, what it is and what it knows about Jesus and their followers. 1887. Okay. The Talmud has to say about Jesus. He mentions him in different names. I just want you to get to the point of it. Let me get to the point of it real quick. Hold on. Be patient with me, please. I think it's here. Oh, no, not that. Not yet. Here goes. I think it's right here. Here it goes. Let's see what it says about the Meshiach, Jesus of Nazareth. He says hold on. Says he calls them in different names, but here we see that they're calling him something else. Page 114 says, at this, Joshua betook himself to the turn, and on the way he stooped at an inn where he was greatly honored. What is in the inn this is? I'm sorry, what a fine inn it is. And said the rabbi, Jesus said, her eyes are sore. At this, the rabbi said, thou impious fellow, do you pay attention to such things? He brought 400 trumpets and excommunicated him. Jesus asked very often to be readmitted again, but in vain. One day when the rabbi recited the words, hear, O Israel, Jesus appeared again before him. The rabbi met signs, but Jesus misunderstood them and thought the rabbi did not care for him. At this, Jesus turned away and erected an altar and bowed before it. When the rabbi told him to repent, Jesus answered, I have learned from thee this doctrine. Whoever sinneth and causeth others to sin can never repent. And said Jesus was a sorcerer and seduced and misled Israel. Okay. So let's continue here. They call him Balaam as well in this book. Check this out. Let me see if I can find it. Here it goes right here. Page 117. It's Tara and Pandera. In treaties, Sabbat, Folly 104. Remember, this is from the Talmud. This is what these Jewish people believe, Sephardic, Ashkenazi, the same concept, okay? Rabbi Eleazar said that to the sage, did not the son of Stada bring sorcery from Egypt into a cut of his flesh? They replied, he was a fool, and fools cannot be used in evidence. You call him a son of Stada? He was a son of Pandera. Rav Shizda said the husband of Mary was Stada, but her gallant man was Pandera, but her husband was Papos ben Jehuda, meaning Joseph. Yes, but his mother was Stara. But now it was not his mother Mary, the hairdresser, but by Stara, the mother of Jesus, meant to indeed, which names was only her surname, as used to say, Pumba Tidat, she left her husband, meaning an adulterous person. Here on the bottom says, the Pantera said to have been illegitimate, the father of Jesus, with a tradition current before the composition of the Talmud. For as early as the second century, Celsus again, whom Origen wrote this treatise, introduced a Jew who was speaking of the mother of Jesus. When she was pregnant, she was turned out the doors by her carpenter, to whom she had been betrothed, as guilty as adultery, and that she bore a child to a certain soldier named Pandera. The word Pandera, or as it's written in Talmud, Pandera, seems to have been used as allegory sense, meaning the son of a wanton. Now let's continue here. In Sanhera, Folly 17, column 1, we read, thus they did the son of Stara in Lydia. They hid witnesses who could listen to his heresy without being seen, and hung him on the eve of Passover. So you can call a son of Stara as above. Balaam, it says here, the letter replied that nothing is written concerning sins. However, it is written that bloody and deceitful men shall live out half their lives. He was 33 or 34 years old. You are right, replied the Christian. I have seen myself Chronicle of Balaam, wherein it is written, 33 years old was Balaam the lame when he was killed by Phinehas the robber. Often Jesus is hidden under the name of Balaam. According to the Jewish tradition, Jesus was lame because he was deprived of his magic virtue. And so on, and so on, and so on. Hey, saludos, enemigos. Yeah, that's it's crazy that they even goes that way. And again, man, I already know. I know what's going on, bro. I see there are a few people watching, and I get it. And it don't matter to me. I'm not here for likes or subscribers. It's very clear to me that people don't give a shit. But I'm going to show you what I know, so then maybe you guys that are really trying to search scripture can be guided and say, let me see what you got. Let me read it. You're right. It makes sense. Why am I going hard on this? Because you have to understand, for a long time, we've been told that we're certain people, and then some people come up and say that we're part of this dumbass 12 tribe chart, and a lot of us fell for it. And then now we're being told some other stuff, like left and right, that we're not the actual people of this continent now. And now that we're neither stretching us this way or that way. So all I'm trying to do is say, look, man, I'm good where I'm at. The Sepharad. The characteristic features of Luria's system in the speculative Kabbalah, in his definition of the Sepharad, and his theory of the intermediary agents, which he calls Parsufin, face. This right here. You guys better read this. Now you'll understand what I'm talking about. Nothing new under the sun, man. Ecclesiastes 3:15. It says here, that which had been is now, and that which is to be had already been. And God required that which is past, because we see it again and again and again. This is nothing new. You shouldn't be impressed nor surprised. You should understand that there's a lot of folly, misunderstanding, lacking of study habits. Unfortunately, that's just the way people are. But if you fall for the folly and think that, I'm going to go by what they believe, then you're no different than them. Because the way I see it is too much information to try to prove that certain people are certain people. Listen, man, if I just cared about fitting in, I would have never left these camps. I would have still believed. in the 12 tribe chart. This is from the Jews and the Moors in British Columbia. Page 8. Historians speculate that the first Europeans to sight land on October 12, 1492 was also Jewish. The sailor Juan Rodriguez Bermejo, called Rodrigo de Triana, left Spain upon Columbus' return and entered the service of Moors in Morocco. His name and memory are honored today by American Jews, from whom the story of the auspicious beginning is a point of immense pride. He was a so-called Sephardic. Hundreds of Jews exiled from Spain and Portugal followed Bermejo and made a name for themselves as Jewish pirates of the Caribbean. You know, like the movie Pirates of the Caribbean? That's what they're talking about. They just exclude the Jewish part. As authors Edward Christian calls him, including Moroccan-born Samuel Placra, the pirate rabbi. Do your homework. Because all over this book, check this out. Look at this. Look at how many. Look how many times it's mentioned. Look at that. Hey, you know what's funny? There was actually more likes. I think there was like 9 likes. Now there's only 7. I don't know if it's YouTube or if it's people because they get offended. It's okay. I don't care. 373 times the name Sephardic pops up in this book. And in this book, if you read it, it shows how successful they were. There were governors, there were attorneys, there were judges. Francis Drake, compatriots from Sephardic and Morisco navigators. Following Sephardic Morisco maps, these people enslaved our gente. Sephardic Jewish antecedents, but the Spanish were as well. These people were supportably our gente. And what occurred? Does that not matter now? Again, man, it don't, you guys can believe what you want to believe, but I'm just going to show you some things and that's it. I'm almost done. I'm not going to go any longer. This is from the Lost Tribes of Myth, page 282. On the bottom, it says here, I'll start here. Here goes. Herodotus is supported by his contemporary Obadiah, who declares the exiles from Halah and Harbor shall possess the lands of Canaanites, and as far as the Seraphat and the exiles of Jerusalem who are in Sepharad shall possess the cities of Southland. In, it says, page 283, Sargonite times, the Sepharda are part of the Medo-Camarian invasion in southwest Media, which is Persia Mede, remember? Southwestern Media, Asia Minor. In the time of Darius, Hystapsis, which is the son of Cyrus. Darius, now remember, King Cyrus ruled Israel, a little bit of Asia Minor, and all across the continent, all across the country heading to India. His son took over Egypt and then all Asia Minor and all across that way. Keep that in mind. In the time of Darius, which was around 500, I don't know, between 520 to 400 and change. Keep that in mind, because I don't know if this is the first or the second one. But let's continue for the sake of time. In the time of Darius, his Hystapades, 200 years later, they appeared in the Western Asian Minor, in southern Bithynia and adjacent river lands. This includes the Parthenian River region. Once it appears that the previously cited Gomer migration that overran Hittite Cappadocia seems to have had the Sepharda as its advance guard and to have pushed them thus to the west of Cappadocia. But how far west? Now, Cappadocia is basically touching now in the Greek lands or Roman, like that so-called Iberian Peninsula. But how far west? For Judaism, for more than 2,000 years, has been using Sephardim as a name for the Jews farther west. And they have mistakenly connected Sepharad with the Greek Hesperides. 2 recent discoveries clear the whole matter up. Excavation at Sardis proved that Sfard, remember we read that, was an older name for the city. An Lydian bilingual inscription identifies Sfard with the Aramaeans, the name Sepharad, which is in the Babylonian Sepharda. Elamite is Sparda, the Sparda of the Jesustin inscription. So the Sepharda were in the Sardis. So the Sepharda were in Sardis. And their names were identified with the city of early Persian times. It wasn't in Spain. That's way the hell over there. And if you really want to use the Bible, well, Spain is mentioned in the Bible, and Alexander the Great was never ruling Spain. So why would he even consider that land? The second important discovery is a very short description of their Hystapades found by Professor Ernest Hersfeld at the hand dam in 1927. It is trilingual in Old Persian, New Elamite, and Babylonian. It says, Darius the great king, the king of kings, the king of lands, Hestapades, son, the Achaemenian. Darius the king says, this kingship that I hold is from Scythia, the Sakas, which is beyond Sagdo Diana, to Kush, from India, the Indus, to Sardes, Sparta, which Ahura Mazda gave me, who is the greatest of the rest of the gods. May Ahura Mazda protect me with the gods of my household. Now, this is, they practice Zoroastrianism. In case you don't know, look it up. It will be observed that northern Scythia and Ethiopia are the northern and southern limits, while the the Indus Valley, almost to Bombay, and Sparta are eastern and western limits. You see, so how could he what from Ethiopia all the way to from India all the way to Spain? That never happened. Since Nubia was being subdued in 517 BC, and Samo, excuse me, was not invaded till 516, the date of inscription must be 517. Hold on. 517. Anyways, so let's continue. We're almost done with this. Oh, my bad. Oh, here it goes right here. 383. Oh, no, hold on. 384. Hence, Jews who use Sephardim as a term for Jews in far west must have begun doing so when those of the Sardes region were the farthest west. They may have been before the time of Darius. It was many centuries later that Sephardim began to use for Jews in Spain and Portugal. Many centuries later. But we read in the New Voice Italy that these mofos couldn't even prove that they were the real Jews. And this must have been because colonies from Western Asia Minor shaped the later Judaism of Spain. The term Sephardim does not occur in the Talmud, the compilation of which began 740 years after Darius' tablets were written. So how come it's not in the Talmud? Jerome, 900 years after the Darius tablet, was taught by his Hebrew teacher that Obadiah referred to the Taurian Borporis, whose Hello-Iranic population we have seen to be identical, much of the same as Hello-Iranic people that dominated northwestern Asia Minor for some time. As for Sardes itself, we've seen the pictures. Josephus tells us that there was an ancient Jewish community and temple in Sardes long before his time. It will receive special attention on chapter 12. Reverting to Obadiah, he agrees with Herodotus that circumcising Syrians from Jerusalem are in the Parthians regions in this day as far as west as Sardes. Okay, like this. Sardes, Asia Minor. It would appear that neither they nor the Israelite colonies that have been in Hala or Harbor for 300 years are very favorable conditions at the time. Observe again, the Sargonoid Israelite colonies are not lost tribes at this time. Remember that. The Sargonoid Israelites colonies are not lost tribes at this time. In the next generation, some of them meet Obadiah's anticipation under the leadership of Ezra and Nehemiah, because that's when they were writing it. Ezra, Nehemiah, Obadiah. Obadiah came right before Ezra and Nehemiah, or around that time. He was leaving, they were coming. You see this here. So again, you continued, and this is this guy here, by the way. This guy here, he is a so-called, I guess, Jew. Is this it? I don't have the cover. No, it's called The Lost Tribes of Myth. Okay, I shared this with you guys before. What else? Oh, one more thing. Here we go. The Sails of Hope. And let me show you this. Wait, quick. We see that in page, I believe 3, Christopher Columbus was to sail the lands of Indies, laid anchor in the Port Palos. It was the night of August 2nd. You guys can check out this book. It's pretty interesting, okay? But let me get to the point. Let's see. Let me see if I can do this. You know what? Here, I'm going to show you guys this. I'll show you guys another time. Here's the link to the book. I've shared this before. It's just basically kind of regurgitating the same stuff I've been saying. So I don't want to do that. I'm going to show you this particular material here. Los indios, los judíos en el descubrimiento. Okay, this is on page 5, on the bottom part. Los judíos en el descubrimiento. Los judíos en el descubrimiento de América. Daniel Mesa Bernal. Okay, 1903, reprinted 1589. It says here, give me a second. Page 5. It says, judíos y conversos apoyaron el viaje de Colón con entusiasmo, pues estaban convencidos que existían hebreos en otras tierras. Esa convicción se fundaba en la tradición y en las interpretaciones de los rabinos de los libros sagrados y en los comentarios de los viajeros. Siempre preocupó a los judíos la desaparición de las 10 tribus que se remontó al año 722 antes de Jesucristo, cuando el rey Sargón II, told you, tomó la capital del reino de Israel y dispersó su población. So now, this right here, check this out. Let me skip it real quick. Hasta la época del descubrimiento de América se consideraba que las 10 tribus vivían en Azareth, palabra que significa la otra tierra. Terminó confuso y poco significativo, de allí que surgían hipótesis y fantasías. Comentó Vicente Risco que según el Talmud de Jerusalén habían israelitas en lugar oculto donde por especial providencia de Dios vino una nube y los cubrió para preservarlos de los pueblos extraños. Sheder Olem llama a aquellas nubes montañas de oscuridad. Y se ha interpretado que esa tierra oculta durante siglos fue América. La idea de que las 10 tribus vivieron en las tierras lejanas se pasa principalmente en el libro 4 de Esdras, Second Esdras. Un apocalipsis que contiene la visión que tuvo en Babilonia en el año 557 antes de Jesucristo. Ezra, you see this? 557. Obadiah was written in around 590, 580, give or take. But again, I'm reading this to you guys because if they knew or had an idea, how come they didn't tell us? Check this out. Sabemos que Cristóbal Colón leyó a Esdras, pero la mayor parte de las citas que hace son las profecías de Isaías. Si se reúnen las nubes para mí con los navios, ships de Tarsis a la cabeza, Spain, para traer de lejos a sus hijos con su oro y su plata, para el nombre de Yahweh, tu Dios, para el Santo de Israel, que te glorifique. You see this? So here they had an idea, but again, where are they? Instead, no, they enslaved the people here. I don't see no love. All I see is oppression, slaughter, rape, murder. What else can I tell you? That's all I've seen. And it wasn't just by one particular people. We see all over the place that they work together. I've shared this with y'all before. History of the conquest of Spain by the Arab Moors. How can you be keeping the laws of the Talmud and the Most High bless you? It's kind of difficult to do that. Anyhow,
they've been
so I want to show you this real quick. Check this out. All right, we're basically done, family. Let me finish it with this, and I'll be done.
Recently seen in multiple protests in North America, violently opposing pro-Palestine activists. They've been listed as a right-wing terrorist group by the FBI, and they are described as Jewish supremacists. What is the Jewish Defense League, and what are its goals?
I think they're a disgrace to the Jewish tradition. They are as hostile, in my opinion, to the Jewish tradition as people who call themselves anti-Semites.
Founded by Rabbi Meir Kahan in 1968, the Jewish Defense League was initially a group of vigilantes patrolling New York City to combat what they call anti-Semitism by any means necessary.
There was a conflict between Jewish teachers and black students and their families, and the Jewish Defense League acted in violent ways toward black.
In the 70s and 80s, its members pursued a Zionist anti-Arab terror campaign and were accused of multiple bombings. Among their victims are Muslim activists, journalists, scholars, neo-Nazis, communists, and Jewish community members accused of not being Jewish enough.
In the United States, they had about 18,000 members. Later, the Jewish Defense League engaged in a variety of acts of violence. The murder of an Arab American leader, an assassination plot against an Arab American member of Congress. And you know what the slogan of the Jewish Defense League was? Every Jew a 22, meaning a rifle. These were violent people.
In 1994, a Zionist terrorist affiliated with the League slaughtered 29 Palestinians praying at a mosque in the occupied West Bank. His grave has since become a pilgrimage site for Zionist groups.
Rabbi Kahane, the Jewish Defense League leader, emigrated to Israel. He believed all Jews should emigrate to Israel. He brought the Jewish Defense League to Israel, and he was even elected to parliament. But I think the most extreme thing that I would say about them is this idea of wanting Israel to adopt the Nuremberg laws, making it illegal for Jews and non-Jews to marry. The very laws that existed in Nazi Germany.
The terror network was described as one of the most active terrorist groups in the US until 2000. In 2022, 2 members of the group were arrested for attempting to blow up a mosque in California. More recently, several members of the League participated in protests in Toronto, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C. in support of Israel's genocidal war on besieged Gaza. And in May 2024, Rabbi Reuven Kahan, the cousin of the Jewish Defense League founder, was arrested in New York City after trying to run over and kill pro-Palestine protesters.
In some of the current demonstrations, such as at UCLA University, there were people carrying Jewish Defense League signs. So I think those are individuals who are promoting this most extreme ideology that the Jewish Defense League represented. But from my research, the group is kind of inactive, but it has successor group in Israel. Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, 2 members of the Netanyahu cabinet, are people who admire Meir Kahane. The settler movement is, in my opinion, the direct descendant of the Jewish Defense League, denying Palestinians in Gaza food and water, bombing their hospitals. This is really Meir Kahane in action.
Yeah. So listen, you can't carve one from the other, man. They're the same. They're the same. And if you want to have different DNAs, well, now we're dealing DNA. Okay, well then I guess you guys need to start doing your DNA. If we're gonna use DNA whenever it's convenient, then it makes no sense. So listen, family, you guys have a good night, man. I'm gonna finish up with this joke here. It's a little short video. I'm gonna play it fast. I think it's funny as hell. And then I'm gonna play a song, and then I'm done. All right. So again, it's about 9 minutes, but it's gonna be playing fast. It'll probably last like 5. After that, shalom, buenas noches a todos, man. I appreciate you guys being here. And again, confirm what I teach. I mean, what I show you guys. There's no narrative here. I'm only showing you what I read. That's it. You guys decide what you do. And if you think, hey, man, it is what it is, bro. You know, at the end of the day, somebody's wrong. I don't believe I am.
Jerusalem at the Makane Yehuda market. I'm looking for the apartheid. I ask all these people, not one person is able to tell me where the apartheid is. So I'm asking you.
Okay, I'm here, uptown New Orleans, in the Garden District, and I'm looking for the projects. And I can't find the projects anywhere. I've been asking everyone around me, and not one person can tell me where the projects are. So I'm asking you who seem to be so fucking smart where the projects are. What's that? Oh, I have to leave the neighborhood and go to the 9th ward. That's so inconvenient and doesn't fit my narrative.
You see that? That's the fucking apartheid.
No, it fucking actually is not. Because pointing to a sign placed by the Israeli government in the Israeli-occupied illegal territory of the West Bank, which is a violation of international law and unilaterally condemned by the international community, is not an example of an apartheid. Also, it's apartheid, not apartheid. You sound like you just learned the word. You, Michael Rappaport, are dumb, and you deserve another helping of Snowball.
You know, this whole crap with this cancel culture and the... Shut up!
You are standing on occupied land. Every Israeli settlement in the West Bank is a violation of international law. The West Bank is separated into 3 cantons: Area A, Area B, and Area C. 60%, the majority of the West Bank, is under complete unilateral Israeli control. Notice how Area C completely encircles Area A and Area B. This is not by accident. It has been the Zionist strategy to completely encircle Palestinian settlements ever since before the creation of the State of Israel in 1948. Someone please tell this pea-brained, cold sore-addled baboon what an apartheid is. An apartheid is the systematic segregation of an ethnic group through government policies and military force. It is not pointing to an obscure sign in occupied territory and saying, "Here's the apartheid." Just for context, Michael Rappaport is standing in occupied territory and pointing to the entrance of Area A Palestinian Bantustan, and saying,
"That's the fucking apartheid." This is a beautiful city. You want Hamas to take over this or anything? What Hamas do with this beautiful, beautiful city built on the back of Israeli citizens? They'd run it into the ground.
Look at this. Look at this beautiful plantation. This is a beautiful plantation. You want slaves to take over this plantation? You want black people to take over this plantation? Are you your mind? Look at the slave quarters. Look at what the slaves did to the slave quarters. And you want them to take over this beautiful plantation? Look at this beautiful plantation built on the backs of American-alien citizens. You want slaves to take over this? You want black people to take control of it? Those black people would run it into the fucking ground. You hear me? You hear me?
You know, it sounds exotic. Zionism. It sounds like something complex. Dare I say sexual? It's simply that Israel has the right to exist. There's more, but that's the basics.
You know, a lot of people think that Nazism means some genocidal, mass-murdering, psychopathic death cult built on racial superiority and vying for world domination. And that's not because of the policies. It's not because of the concentration camps. It's not because of the Holocaust. It's not because of the World War. None of that. It's because the word Nazi sounds very exotic. And I give you that, okay? It's got a Z in it, and it's, dare I say, it sounds sexual. Well, all that it boils down to is just that Nazism means that Germany has the right to defend itself. There's more to it than that, but I'm not going to go into it. But that's the basics of it.
As far as genocide, listen, you could say genocide. I could say that I could dunk a basketball.
So when you say Holocaust, I could say hologram. I can say holla back. Doesn't make it true, okay?
Stop worrying about rivers and all that shit. Build your shit up, man. Get yourself some restaurants. Get yourself some hotels. Start a fucking Gaza Film Festival.
So true, King. I mean, who could forget the 1943 Auschwitz-Arbat-Macht-Frei Film Festival, which ultimately turned around the Jews' socioeconomic conditions and won them their free society? Is it a surprise to anyone to find out that all these sad bastard evil terrorists had to do was build a few restaurants? Shame on them. I mean, listen to this arrogant, condescending prick try to lecture the Palestinian people on how to run their society after it has been bombed relentlessly year after year for decades now by the Israeli government. Human rights organizations have concluded that it would take 147 years to rebuild Gaza back to its state in 2014. That was in 2014, a decade ago, when the last murderous high-tech bombing campaign happened in the Gaza Strip, Operation Protective Edge. Do you hear clowns like this ever mention these operations? No, because for them, history began on October 7th. Do we hear about the 250 Palestinians that were murdered by the IDF in the 8 months previous to October 7th? No.
Woo! Man, you think calling me a Zionist is an insult? Zionist simply means that you believe in the right for Israel to exist.
Oh, woo! You think calling me a Nazi is hurting my feelings? You think calling me a Nazi is an insult? Woo!
Being a Nazi just means that you believe that Germany has the right to exist.
Hey, that guy's a Nazi. Get him.
Looking for the apartheid. Hats, tights. Where's the apartheid?
Look at this. I got tires. I got Subarus. I got a tree. I got a Lincoln. I got a Jeep over here. I got a Nissan. There's a door handle. There's a light. There's a little bit of mud right over there. No bikes. Not a single bike anywhere. can't find one bicyclist. Yes, I'm doing the bit again because I'm sad and pathetic and I'm running out of material, to be honest with you. Look at this, it's a rear view mirror. UPS truck, lady getting into a car, street sign, orange cone, a little garden right there. No bicycles. No bicycles. No bikes. I don't know, guess they don't exist.
And then boom, took over the land with our pitchforks and our AK-47s. You dum-dums.
This is the kind of content you pump out? You're doing this for free. I mean, look at this, 200 likes, 21 reposts, and 38 comments. Now I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that video of you pretending to be paid by the Israeli government to put out Israeli content is utter bullshit. Because no one in their right mind is gonna pay you for this dog shit engagement. Gee, it's almost as if you were a Z-list out-of-work actor trying so desperately to stay relevant. This is not going viral. Let's be real. The only thing that's ever gone viral for you is the herpes on your face. Yo, Michael Rappaport, is this you? It looks an awful lot like you, dog.
It wasn't like Jewish people just meandered here in 1948.
Yeah, that's right. Jews did not meander over to Israel in 1948. Zionists did. Before that, Jews and Arabs lived mostly peacefully in the land of Palestine. I know this is going to sound absolutely wild, but Zionism is not Judaism. And being anti-Zionist does not mean being anti-Semitic. In fact, it is more accurate to say that Zionists are anti-Semitic.
A lot of people are saying free Palestine. I would like people to explain what that means and what that looks like.
I'll tell you exactly what that looks like. It looks like Palestine being given their primary right to self-determine as a people in accordance with international law and the world consensus. It looks like Palestine not being encircled, besieged, blockaded, and invaded by Israel. It looks like Palestine not being kept on what human rights organizations and international judicial bodies all resoundingly and unanimously decry as a diet of starvation, where they are deprived of basic human necessities they need for survival, including food, medical supplies, and building materials that they need to rebuild their cities after that murderous regime comes in and invades their land so they can mow the lawn with disproportionate violence, which they've been doing for decades. It looks like Palestine not being the victim of an endless barrage of war crimes, collective punishment, and crimes against humanity.
Well, that sounds like something that happened here in America too. That video was funny, man. It was funny, bro. All right, man. So you guys have a good night.
Every man has his techniques.
By the way,
You'll be dead.
I like that piece because at least once you know everybody has a particular type of way of doing things, once you know mine, you'll be dead. I'm just joking. All right. Buenas noches, bro.
Cuando miras a otro lado, los fantasmas del pasado no se detendrán hasta verte derrumbado. Peores lo hemos pasado. Andaba a golpes con la tristeza, me aportó riqueza, me otorgó sabiduría, pues se dibujaba en todas mis piezas. Yo con alegría le daba color después. La aguja sigue girando, tiempo parece se burlar de mí. Dijo que sanaría esperando, pero creo que la espina aún sigue ahí. Con los dedos lo voy palpando. Cierro los puños, escapa de aquí. Agonizando, no me espera el tiempo, no voy a esperar por ti. Nuestras huellas en la orilla se han borrado por la marea. Si esas estrellas ya no brillan, las entiendo pa' que veas. Sea donde sea, bajo la tormenta o dentro de la odisea, donde arañas cubren el cielo de tela, los aviones nadan y los barcos vuelan. Hey, aunque parezca que va bien, no sabes bien si va mal. Besos que pueden doler, ojos que pueden matar. Tengo mi alma en el almacén encerrada, mi corazón está en huelga, mis sentimientos en ámbar. Gente, Calamala dijo que estaría presente. Fallaron como nunca, se fueron para siempre. Millones razones para vengarme, pero a veces duele más actuar indiferente. Como no quieren ver ahogados, tenemos branquias y cerrados los bronquios como la mente de un guardia. Yo soy la montaña y vine con la cordillera. Más cojones que tu ganga tiene una madre soltera. Tú cúbrete si suena mi tutu. A mí lo tengo soldado fumando de su palulú. Ni un conjuro de grimorio me lo salva del velorio. Pa' tener pila valorio se matan vestidos de emporio. Y yo no quiero una pistola, estoy soñando que la vida que quería me llega a tiempo. Desde que yo la vi sola, loco ando. Vino a verme cuando el sol se estaba poniendo y se dejó una pluma y se perdió en la bruma. Nunca se despidió de mí, ey. Nunca se despidió de mí, ey. Vivo en un mundo que parece roto y sé que no, porque todo es perfecto y lo debo plasmar. Me fumo un trócolo tras otro y lo veo todo otro color. Me siento libre porque vuelvo a conectar. Mi gente sufre y no lo puedo evitar, más que dándole consejos siempre desde la humildad. Es su camino hacia la fraternidad. Solo puedo que enseñarles a respetar y amar. Con esta bendición, como no voy a aprovechar los códigos que llegan, los tenemos que aceptar. Si me reencarné fue para ayudar y no para malgastar mi tiempo en beneficio del mal. En la unión nace la fuerza y eso nos hace juntar las ganas que siempre tuvimos para iluminar a la gente que se le ocurra y la malla armonizar. Vinimos para dar fuego a la que no nos va a quemar.
Arda y por dentro la llama, no puedo contener la ras. Churruscao el corazón, el armazón no puede llegar a pesarme más. Si abro la boca, tu tumba al suelo, me muelo a diario y sobrado de gas. Escupo ristas perfectas, paladas de versos eternos, no mueren jamás. Cuando acabe mi condena, me vi muy solo y perdido. Cada vez más negra la flema, más elegante el problema, pero planté cara a todos mis enemigos. Recuperé las ganas, las fuerzas y el garbo. Dedico requiems a mis diablos, que aquí estoy vivo de milagro. Delicadas flores crecieron entre los cardos. Me dicen bien, es más delgado que de costumbre. Será de tanto que he bailado en el alambre, que a tanta pena es mejor no ponerle nombre. Llevamos la música en vena, nuestra sangre.
En la Plaza de Reyes, la Xumeta, Soplón. Yeah. ¿Qué vas a saber?
¿Qué vas a saber tú? Oye, chibolito, faltóme. Pulpín de los pulpines, batería de Rapunzel, de rapeos, de raptos, de lagartos en cuartel. Cualquier la pega de cruel con un viejo coronel. Soy flojo, se me antojó dormirme en el laurel. Elevé mi level con un label y un Faber-Castell. Ya un papel, lo empape con sangre de todo aquel que se jura Nobel y no ve mis trenes en la riel. What's so man? ¿Por qué no sacan la tablet? Juro por mis abuelos que no te hablo por las powers. Soy chinchado neto, búscame por Pico Sour y te voy a meter al centro loco como Beckenbauer. Escúchame atento mi bro, que estamos rompiéndole en pro. El negro de Plaza de Reyes como siempre rompe este micrófono. Que quiere meterle como yo pero no puede meterle tacoplón. Si te pensaba que solo era un gallo, déjame decirle que se equivocó. Real motherfucker feeling on the street. Es el Black Sea Metal de Plaza de Kings. Motherfucker, soplón.
Dinero Luigi, man, desempeño en la victoria para que sepa. Incas Mo, it's money gang, yeah. Yo también he llorado, gente. También me han desplazado por mi rasgo afrodescendiente. Sí, un perro no habla pero siente. Cuento historias callejeras pa' barrios de delincuentes. Soy un perro que te ladra, que te muerde y que te huele, nene. Soy más que Lene, ustedes para mí son pelele. Con mi jauría todo el día en busca de los cheles. Tengo un perro en fiscalía que nos mueve los papeles y otro en la comisaría para evitar el susto. Muchas veces me han llevado por solo como luzco. Perdón, madre mía, si yo le causé un disgusto, pero en esta vía yo crecí rodeado de perros chuscos. Yo sé que me quieren ganar, yo sé que me quieren tumbar y no pasará porque soy de verdad. Está súper refina la Dodo Style, metido en latina aprendiendo un quizá. Yo tengo el style, no mido la raza del perro, yo mido por la lealtad y yo soy leal. La calle te enseña lo que no te enseña la universidad. man. Incas mob, yeah. It's money gang, 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 yeah.
Hey, yo. Yango en la maldita casa. Me llaman pa' que les dé al menos una vez al mes. Se metieron al lago y olvidaron que era el mes. For everybody bless. La fama es una puta, me está llamando a las 3. Dile que llame después de las 16 y 25. Volví de la infancia de Abraham Lincoln. Con fuerza ya inco, luchando para salir del rincón. Letra callejera en CD brinco. Under del under, puede que tu viejo te lo mande. Sale de vez en cuando como el cóndor por los Andes. Mi cuerpo no es de madera como Dandy. Antes que me branden, yo seré el ola que los expande. Aunque esto me pique en la madera, no sirve ni para romper el ticket de un evento afuera. Loco por la carrera, desafían la gravedad. Yo espero tras la barrera y llego con la novedad. Niña, tú solo espera que ya encontré la manera. He visto bastante por querer lograrlo saltando escalones dentro de la escalera. La vida me puso al depósito, yo soy de púlpito pa' que el mundo conociéramos de esta parte mejor intérprete que ha parido esta cordillera. Sin luz afuera, que el espectáculo es dentro, la calle es mi templo, tiembla el pavimento, cuando yo me concentro, mis disparos son temas, la calle un poema, se siente desde cuando entro, que a toditos estos drogaditos que creen que rapean los regreso al centro de mi balcón. Yo he visto el clown de clown en la misma gestión, pero a la malla no llega el balón, y para esta pantalla no existe patrón, yo ya me sé la cuestión, y doy fe por cada renglón, consciente de la operación del final de Mbappé con la edad de bufón. De Yango en la maldita casa, Plaza de Reyes, papá, el Nero Luigi, Black Cimental, hip hop peruano. En la maldita base. Yao, yao, yao.
Ical, hijo, abre los ojos. Ical, hijo, abre los ojos. Tu cuerpo se queda con nosotros, pero tu espíritu debe seguir. Busca la luz. Aléjate de las sombras. Deja que nuestro dolor sea tu fuerza. Desde aquí iluminamos tu camino. Lucha como nosotros ante esta pena tan grande. Yo soy tú. Tú eres yo. La muerte que hoy nos separa, mañana volverá a unirnos. Eres libre, hijo.